everyone, this is Dr. Jordan from Pinnacle Chiropractic, your pediatric and prenatal chiropractic office in the Sarasota-Bradenton area. And today is just a really simple breakdown of what nervous system dysregulation is and how to measure that. So I think most of us know that our bodies are super complex. They are just this amazing machine, basically, of all of these systems regulating together and working together to make us function at a really basic level. But sometimes our bodies tend to go awry and there will be something a little bit out of whack, a little off kilter, and then our body sends us these alarm signals that we like to call symptoms that tell us, hey, you need help. Hey, I need support. You need to add this. I need more of this. And so, it's one of those things that some people might tend to ignore those symptoms. Other people get a couple and think that they, worst case scenario, have this really terrible illness. But at the end of the day, our body is sending us numerous signals, whether that's a headache or if it's muscle joint pain, if it is digestive problems, if it is getting your period a little bit late. If there's anything going on in your body, it's really your body's way of trying to tell you, hey, I'm dysregulated and I really need some assistance in this area. And so a lot of people struggle for a really long time trying to put all of these symptoms into a box and find what makes that fit. Is it going to a GI specialist? Is that going to an ortho? Like, where are my symptoms leading me for me to get help? But then it's really frustrating when you can't really pinpoint an exact cause because the GI doc might say one thing, your cardiac doc might say another. They're not really talking about medications. You just hear a lot of stories about how those doctors have very specific focused lenses on what their specialty is, and for good reason. So we like to think about all of this from a more nervous system approach. And so when we're looking at all of these complex symptoms, conditions, everything that's going on in our body does tell us a picture, but it can also doesn't mean it's just one area. Your nervous system is what controls all of those areas in the body, from your immune system to your reproductive system to your digestive system to your endocrine system to your cardiac system. All of those things are kind of housed inside of the nervous system. So if we have nervous system dysregulation, if there is a disruption in that delicate balance in the nervous system, we're going to see a lot of those alarm signals or symptoms going off for the body that might not just be in one area. It could be a plethora of areas, and there might be a lot more being hit by this dysregulation than just one system. And so that is where a nervous system based chiropractor comes into play. So when we are talking about the nervous system, we are really talking about what is going on within the body and how is it functioning as a whole. We're not looking at pieces and parts. We are really trying to see as a whole, what is the body telling us? Where are we seeing that there are weaknesses or that there needs to be more support? And so how does that nervous system even get dysregulated? To start from the beginning, why does that dysregulation happen? If we're talking about the whole entire body and the whole entire system, why would it be dysregulated if it should all be working together? And if it is so delicate, then is it easy to get disrupted? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes, because of how our world has kind of become. So the first thing that we talk about in our office all of the time is preconception and prenatal stress, or distress. But when we are looking at all of the research and all the studies that are pouring in, the more stress during conception, preconception, during the early stages of life, when your nervous system is forming, your brainstem is forming, the more that moms will pass on that stress to baby. So we are seeing a very, very big connection to stress and trauma during early pregnancy, trying to get pregnant, even with an illness during pregnancy, about how all of that stress can then transfer to baby. You're sharing blood. That placenta is basically going back and forth as a lifeline. So there is just so much research showing that stress from mom and or dad, even preconception, before you even get pregnant, can be passed on to your future generations. So that is one way that a lot of us, unfortunately, are getting some nervous system dysregulation just from the stress of that happening. The next thing we talk about a lot, unfortunately, is birth trauma. And this is such a wide range that it can be from someone just having Pitocin and a really long labor, and that Pitocin is basically pushing baby against the cervix that's not completely dilated and not ready to open for baby to come out. Or it could be something as traumatic as a mom I talked to today, her baby had meconium aspiration and was life flighted and spent a long, long time in the NICU, even though they were full term. So there are numerous stories along that line of talking about birth trauma, but at the end of the day, birth is really traumatic in general. And so even a really low stress, low trauma birth can be traumatic for a baby. There's forever a lot of pressure on that head and neck as baby is descending, as our contractions are pushing them down, and the use of interventions, not to mention then further interventions like forceps or vacuum or an emergency C-section, all kind of lead to more of that trauma for baby in that head and neck region, which holds so much of our life or death primitive information of our brain there. So it's the first thing we're always protecting on a baby, but it's also the first thing that will get affected if a baby has a traumatic birth. So that's something we hear about in our office, unfortunately, all of the time. And last but not least, there are plenty and a plethora of environmental factors and stressors and toxins. So our world has just become very fast-paced. That delicate balance of our body trying to stay in homeostasis and how our liver should be able to detox on its own, but we're introducing so many chemicals and everything is scented from your trash bags to the plugins in your house to fabric softener to the dryer sheets. Everything just comes with a chemical burden, and that's just talking about very basic stuff. That doesn't talk about our cookware that's nonstick, which is terrible for us, and our makeup and deodorant and body wash and even yoga clothes, just full of those forever chemicals that we really should not be having on our skin. But our world is just full of these chemicals, and it's really not our body's ability to detox out how many we're being inundated with. Our liver and our body is strong enough for some of that, but when we're inundated every day, day in, day out, with those air fresheners and car fresheners, the black ice that everyone had in high school, our body is just not designed for that level of chemical stress. And so it takes a lot on the body to basically regulate that level of stress, to detoxify that. Not to mention, most of us now have some sort of methylation issue or a SNP in our DNA that's either further making our detoxifying worse, unfortunately. So those are the three biggest reasons why that dysregulation happens. But then what do we do about it? Your first step would be finding a chiropractor who can measure that dysregulation via insight scans. So when we are scanning patients, we're not only seeing, are there subluxations going on in the body? Or is there dysautonomia? Are they dysregulated? Is that nervous system functioning well, or is it just okay for now? We are also looking at exactly where in the body is that happening? What organs, what tissues, what glands are being subject to that dysregulation? How is that presenting? Is that why we're seeing these different symptoms? Does that measure up? And then we can kind of pinpoint and target exactly where in the body there is more tension, there's more inflammation, there's more stress, and really work to measure that, but then also be able to measure going forward once we start adjusting to make sure that those levels are regulating and going down. So those insight scans are a really big part of our office and really show a really good picture of how the body is able to process and regulate, but not every office offers these scans. So it's really an insight for us to see in a perfect level, what are we seeing in the body? What is going on? Is that body system able to self-regulate? Is the nervous system able to maintain balance? Or are things out of whack? Have things been out of whack for a while where we had so much trauma and then we had all these chemical stressors, and we have emotional stress too, not to mention so many families are dealing with that. So there's just a lot that even our little babies deal with, that the kids deal with. They don't have that ability to self-soothe. They don't really know how to meditate and yoga and ground and do all these things that we adults should be doing too, but we don't have time for them. And so trying to find a chiropractor who is nervous system based is of utmost importance, and then starting with that chiropractor to really get the care that is focused on the well-being of your body, the nervous system, not just pain, not sciatic, not plantar fasciitis, really working on your body as a whole and making some lifestyle choices and changes and reducing the stress, reducing the chemical load, and getting those adjustments to really help your body help itself, will regulate that nervous system where you're not always in fight or flight. Your body is not always running from a bear. Your body can do things like wake up before your alarm clock. Not waking up to a blaring alarm clock, sitting in traffic, rushing to get the kids out of the house, arguing with your partner out the door because they forgot to run the dishwasher last night and now kid A doesn't have the pink Tupperware. All of those things our body shouldn't perceive as life and death, but when we are stressed out for a really long time, they do. And so getting our bodies back to a sense where they can do things like fight or flight if we needed to, but they can also recover from that and go back to a place of being able to rest and digest and heal and grow. That's really important. Our bodies are not meant to live in a world where we can do both. We're all getting very taxed out by how much cortisol is always pumping through our bloodstream. And that's just leading to all of these issues in our bodies, all these systems basically getting overrun, inundated, and shutting down. So finding someone who can do these scans, getting started with this nervous system-based chiropractic is so important for our kids, for ourselves, for our health. And it's really the overarching umbrella of everything else happening in the body. So if you have concerns about headaches or that muscle pain I talked about, random symptoms that might not seem like a big deal right now, eventually they can be. And that's really going to cause further issues with every other system in the body, leading to a lot more chronic illness, autoimmune conditions, challenges down the road. So if you need any help finding a chiropractor, please let us know. There'll be another great article posted with this for you to see. And if you have any questions, let us know. We love to help. See you soon.